Hey kids, welcome to Glen's Screaming Mosquito recording studio. We're just down here farting around on the bass. Got some bass tracks to do on one of my songs, and just kind of figuring out some parts. My bass rig of choice, let's see here, my bass rig of choice is a GLEN 400 RB. I've had this thing for years. I love it, solid state. I own two of these heads. I have one as a backup, but it's also on the jam side of the basement, on the other side of my studio, connected to a 210 cabinet. This cabinet, it's hard to see because the lighting is lower on this side of the studio. This is an SWR 8x8 cabinet. Has eight 8-inch speakers in it plus a horn. I've had this thing for many years. Used to play live with it. Yes, I was a bass player live for a couple of bands for a couple of years, maybe 3 years, something like that. I had a lot of fun with it. It was nice to get away from being behind a drum set. I love playing bass and on stage with bands. It was just a lot of work to play in all of the bands I was in at that time, playing bass in some bands, along with playing drums in others. It was definitely time consuming, but I totally loved it. I wouldn't mind going back to being a bass player sometime, but I don't practice bass as much as I used to, but if I did have a band opportunity, I would definitely get back into the swing of it. So what we have here is a Spectre bass. This is one of the lower line ones, but it's been modified. I had all the electronics modified, so this thing actually is not original inside. While the original sound was okay, it was good. The bass is beautiful. I love this bass. Bought this off a friend years ago. It's a neck through, but all the, like I said, the electronics were modified inside. So right now it's got some dead strings on it because I've been doing a lot of projects, so it doesn't have the brightness that I like, but I'm just working out parts anyways right now. My other bass of choice is this Kerbo bass. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if you can see it here. I'm going to try and bring in the light without smashing these guitars together. This is a 5-string, and the finish is really cool. This bass kicks. I like it. This is what they call a dipped finish, where these special paint chemicals are kind of poured into a bucket. I don't think it's over water, but it's, anyways, the paint lays on the surface and you dunk the bass body into it. Then you pull it out and it brings all these weird patterns on it. And oops, let's kind of flip it over here, stop my bass from growling. Here you can kind of see a little bit more of it. It's pretty funky. This is a bolt-on 5-string. This bass is plays great, but I'll be honest. Sorry about that. I'll be honest. 5 strings still taking me time to get used to. I've had this for years, and while I use it on songs that have 5-string parts in them, I am no virtuoso on a 5-string. That's for sure. I just do the bass for fun, but there was a time when I was playing bass as much as drums, and I really enjoyed it. And I was kind of tossing it up as, do I become a bass player or a drummer? And then it was like, well, why don't I just do both and have fun with both? I never really worked too hard at bass and guitar in the sense like I did with drums, where I was practicing 8 hours a day and going crazy with drums, learning all theory and stuff. I'm not like that with my stringed instruments or my keyboards. Bass, I put the most time in next to drums, and played constantly for at least I'd say 10 years, within my years of playing drums, where I was really going crazy for bass. But I was just having fun with it. I had no real objectives with it, no goals. I just wanted to get better at it for doing drum and bass grooves. I used to record my own drum and bass grooves for songs constantly. I got stockpiles of them, just for future songs or songs that I've written in the past, or just ideas, just to help my drumming. Not so much to help my bass playing, it was mainly to help my drumming. Because you end up jamming with bass players and periodically, and recording that too. But when I have a spur of the moment thing, I want to just run downstairs, grab the bass, turn on the recorder, get behind the drums, and record both parts and just have fun with it. So, and sometimes I jam with my wife on drums and me on bass, and that's a lot of fun. She has fun with that too. And I have a couple old videos online with that. So anyways, the Galen Kruger, it's just a workhorse. It sounds good. It does the job for me. I've had this thing for, oh man, I think I bought it maybe in 2000. So what is it now? We're 20 something years. So I think I've owned it for 20 something years. The second Galen Kruger I bought later on, and same with the 210 cab. And I do have an old Trainer bass amp, but yeah. So I'm kind of a John Entwistle type of kind of player. I like clicking in this area, last couple of frets here. I just like that sound. I was a Who fan well, I'm still a Who fan, but with Keith Moon and John Entwistle, I just like the sound of that rhythm section. Now this is almost like popping and thumb slapping. I just kind of tap the finger here though. So if I move back here, I get this little more growl to it, a little growl, sometimes a farty sound. I kind of like it. But when you move up to the frets, so it's just not my thing, but I normally just play two finger, single finger a lot because I like that when it drives. And I do the Geddy Lee thing back and forth. And do this two finger too. I also use a thumb pick. I don't have it handy, it's upstairs, but yeah, so I can switch to a pick sound but have the thumb pick always on there. And I have that modified. I modified it. I kind of heated it up with a lighter and changed the shape of it to fit my thumb better. Because sometimes with those thumb picks, they kind of cut the circulation off in your thumb. I don't like that, so I kind of manipulated the plastic to fit my thumb better. So yeah, so I'll do a chug on the two lower strings, like the E, especially if I'm doing some driving stuff, like heavy low end stuff, and then to work the fingers on top. With the pick on, you can't slap, but you know, there's options. So anyways, that's kind of it. I'm not a like I say, I'm not a fantastic bass player, but I know what I want to hear when I'm playing drums on bass. So so when I'm doing my drumming and I hear a bass line in my head that I'd like to, you know, experiment with, I'll run over to the bass, grab it, record it, you know, whatever it is, and then get back on the drum set, have the bass track going, and then play drums to it. And it just helps create so much a variety for my drumming, to just have some loops to play along with that I created myself. Sure, I can download bass tracks and stuff offline, but for me, it's just easier. I just go over to the recorder, press record. Okay, I got this. Go back, play drums to it, and just loop that sucker over and over, and get used to playing it. So, anyways, this bass is great. I love it. It's a little bit heavy, but the neck is great. I love it. Oh, it needs strings though. Like I say, this one I play a lot, so. Anyways, I love it, and the 5-string I'm trying to get used to more and more, even though I've owned it for years. But since I've been recording more songs with drop tuning, I've been playing it a little bit more. I'll try and give you a taste of the sound of that. It's really different. This usually has a more funkier sound, but with dead strings on it, it's kind of hard. So give me a sec here. Try not to drop anything on the floor. Now these basses, they were made by designer. His last name is Kerbo. I don't know how to pronounce it. And unfortunately, he was doing great and getting tons and tons of work, and then the poor guy dropped dead. Poor guy dropped dead, and that was it. So the lines, I think, are continuing with other people building them. This base, I can't even remember the year of this thing. Yeah, this one needs just a little more horsepower. Beautiful sounding bass, totally different sound. There's so much EQing in this bass that it takes me a while to get used to farting around with it. It's got quite the growl. Beautiful bass, balance is really great, body's really skinny, and it's got good tone. It's just I have to re-change it. It's like the basses are so far apart in sounds. One of the batteries might be getting starting to die in this. This doesn't seem to be totally as I think I bought this in a pawn shop, and then I found out later a friend of mine owned it at one time, but so I love this bass, but like I say, 5-string It's just takes some getting used to. I have a David Eden preamp that I use with this rig sometimes. It's a little box like this, and depending on the song, sometimes I just use that preamp to record my bass sounds with. Seems to work good with this bass, not so much about that one. That one prefers to have the direct out on this, and what I do sometimes is mic one of the speakers, mic the horn, and run a direct, and they're all on their own channel. It's a lot of work, but you get that variable of sound. So what I like about it is when I'm playing it and recording it, those three sounds are going in there. So in the song, if the bass gets a little buried and say it's a heavy driving part, I can pick one of the sounds that stands out the most, and then if it goes maybe under guitar lead where the bass is already predominant, cradling the lead, I can do one of the other sounds and do a combination of things. I rarely use all three at one time, but it's definitely an advantage to record your cabinet and a direct sound. You can even use a splitter on here or on a direct box and just run the bass by itself. I've done that with that bass, and I had a different bass before, a Music Man copy, and I recorded lots just direct with that with no preamp, and had a really interesting sound. But that bass was just harder to play. The neck was wider, and I just didn't, I couldn't get smooth with it. So anyways, that's the scoop. Some bass noise in here. Like I say, I'm just farting around. I usually play these instruments for my songs. I'm not out to become Geddy Lee on stage and be the best bass player ever. That was never my goal. I use them as working tools for writing originals and practicing my drums. My drums is my main focus, always will be. But bass I love, and I miss playing it on stage. So maybe on a jam night I'll rip it out, and if we have a drummer in the audience, I can play some bass. Anyways, thanks for watching.